We got the editor of the Providence Phoenix. He's got some interesting takes tonight. Philip Isle is my guest, and one of the. Can I say this on television at 7:30? Yeah, might as well. Hide the children. One of the latest pieces in the Phoenix that I think is fascinating is this piece called "Why Rhode Island Doesn't Suck." You know, the Phoenix takes some liberties. You know, that's what an advocacy newspaper can do. They're on the edge all the time, and so I guess I am too now. But we'll have Philip coming in here this evening to talk about some of the contemporary issues on my rundown and some of the stuff he's got going on. He's working on a special project that we'll preview as well. So much to do and so little time to do it. Now he says it. Oh, I shouldn't bang. I told Rox and Jess that this might be a doozy tonight. Calm down, Dan. This is very sensitive. This is a lot of money, and I don't know what the rationale is for it exactly. That, I get it now. It took me a long time to figure out what the superintendent of the Providence schools was actually saying, but I figured it out, and I'll share it with you. And the feds are more like, hey, don't worry about it. And I'll explain what that means to you. And, you know, last night was not good. You know, I'm wearing the Montreal colors, but I'm a Ranger fan, and that was not good. All right, let's get into this. Yeah, now he says it. I was just fit to be tied when I heard this morning and prep for the radio show, weekdays noon to 3 on WPRO. I'm still fit to be tied. You ought to be fit to be tied. Here's the headline in the Providence Journal. In radio ad, Hodgson targets Kilmartin over 38 Studios loan. Dawson Hodgson is the state senator, Republican, running against Peter Kilmartin, the incumbent attorney general. Former state rep, was in the General Assembly when the 38 Studios loan guarantee program was approved. He was the whip up until a month before before the actual formal vote. He's completely in the boys' club, no doubt about it, and has been on a milk carton when it comes to 38 Studios. So he was challenged by Hodgson's ad. We played it for you yesterday. Here's some audio.
You know, this attorney general filling the role of state leader could have satisfied a lot of people in the state of Rhode Island by simply standing up and saying, I'm on the job.
38 Studios. What a disaster. You'd think that Attorney General Peter Kilmartin would tell us which insiders got us into this mess and how much money they made.
So today on the road, Andrew Augustus from WPRO Radio News caught up with the Attorney General, asked him if he was bothered by this campaign ad.
He did a very clever, deceiving ad that portrays me as someone who voted for 38 Studios. Everyone knows there was no debate on the floor regarding 38 Studios.
No, everyone doesn't know that, Mr. Attorney General, because it's not true. Today on the radio, I played copious amounts of audio from the debate on the night that they approved the loan guarantee program. And by the way, everybody doesn't know what you think everybody knows, or you're trying to sell everything on everybody knows. That is not true, what you just said. And he added to the joy of all of this with yet another comment.
Oh, that doesn't bother me, what happens in the campaign season. You expect the slings and arrows to come. What I think people know and realize, number one, is I am upset as they are that there was deception as to what that vote was about. I was deceived, just like most other members of the General Assembly, like most of the general public.
Oh, this is the first time that Peter Kilmartin has spoken out spiritually or any way on this 38 Studios thing. He is the lead law enforcement officer in this state. He should have been offering spiritual kinship to the constituents in this state early on. It took a radio campaign ad to get him out of his little private milk carton hid up cocoon. I have to tell you, I don't have the words. I ad-lib this show. It's going to get dangerous. This guy needs to go. He needs to call a special prosecutor in, or you need to call your state reps, your state senators, and have them start to push for a resolution to call for a special prosecutor out of the Attorney General's office. We didn't know that you felt deceived, Peter. The politics of this thing is dripping off your nose. It's disgusting. You're ill-equipped to run a prosecution on this if it's warranted. You are ill-equipped to take the information from the state police and run it home. You are ill-equipped to keep that gig. And we are ill-equipped to tolerate the goop dripping off of you. The political goop everybody knows. What do you think, we were born yesterday? And you can have a seat right here, Mr. Kilmartin. I can't wait to go nose to nose with you on that. Next item. This is, here's Gina Raimondo's campaign ad that is, well, you react to it.
My dad was always there, but this past Christmas, he was having a rough time with his health, so every visit was special. Talking about his parents, and old World War II stories, and about Christmases when we were kids. On this afternoon, we didn't want the day to end, so we took a ride together to go see the factory in Providence where he worked for decades, until they shipped all the jobs overseas. He was 56 then, but he didn't give up. He started all over again. I'll never forget how brave he was. It's what gave me the courage to keep going when Rhode Island's pension system had to be saved, no matter how hard it got. Now we have to rebuild Rhode Island and its manufacturing. And we will, because he taught me how important that is. Dad never gave up, and neither will we.
We played the ad off of YouTube in its entirety so you can get the full width and breadth of it. Listen, a lot of people are going to think that's very touching. A lot of people are going to say, oh, it shows a softer side. I don't think the passing of your father is a political matter. You know, I offered condolences here last week to Gina Raimondo because, you know, they're heartfelt, and I'm sure a lot of people feel that way, and I'm sure there's a lot of pain in the family with the loss of her father. I will tell you, and I will say this as carefully as I possibly can, that kind of self-exploitation of your own family with but this, by the way, you know, those cameras don't show up by osmosis. So all of that is all planned prior to your dad's passing. It's just too, you know what? It feels like a violation of your family that you've allowed to happen. Politics is a funny business, and the way you've got to open yourself up sometimes is over the top. That's my sensibility about it. I'd like to hear yours. Contact me on your state of mind, end of the program, or on the radio tomorrow at noon. We're going to talk about it. But, whew, man, uncomfortable. For me, anyway, but I'm just one guy. All right, next item. $5 million punitive here. The headline, this is Captain Patalano getting the attention in the Journal for the $5 million lawsuit against the city of Cranston for him being put on the lam, paid for, now there's, you know, I thought it was 2 years. Now it's a year and a half. He had $100,000 a year salary that he was being paid for 18 months to 2 years, depending on what report you believe. But he's back on the job. And so he's inside the Cranston Police Department doing his gig because he's been cleared of whatever the problem was with the prior chief by the new chief, who is interim from the state police. Mayor Fung says, I'm not going to be an ATM, and the city's not going to be an ATM for Captain Patalano. You know, I have to agree with Mayor Fung. $5 million for punitive damages for a job that you were paid for, albeit stressful, and now back on the job seems like a lot of money to be asking for. Then again, Alan Fung is a lot of responsible for the whole mess because he doesn't micromanage. Stay tuned. That's going to be a messy deal. What else do we got here? This is very interesting. I've been hesitant. I've been a full supporter of the Ed Commissioner's reforms. The kneecap thing, I think, needs to stand. But this headline puzzled me, and I saw the story last night on Eyewitness News. Here's the headline right here. The new policy expands graduation eligibility. So every community can have a waiver, but the Ed Commissioner, Deb Giss, has been very tough on local communities that are exploiting the waiver, you know, or overusing the waiver thing. Here's what the Superintendent Lucy said to Eyewitness News last night about this.
Where I couldn't look at myself in the mirror would be knowing that a student who'd scored as high or higher was not being allowed to graduate. I think that is fundamentally unfair.
And I was trying to figure out what she was saying, and then finally I got it. So, you got two kids that are that are not even proficient on the kneecap, right? One kid score, I'll make up a number. One kid scores 25, you know, way off the charts, way below proficient, failing. The next kid scores 20. But because all you have to do is improve your test, the kid who scores 20 goes 22 in the next one. The other kid never moves off 25. But the 25 kid's not going to graduate because the 25 kid didn't improve. The 20 kid improved by 2 points. That's a fundamental flaw in the entire process of the NECAP. She's right, and that's why the Ed Commissioner is taking the pedal off the metal on the waiver. I get why she's doing it. There's got to be a better way to make sure our kids are learning. That's all I got to say. Now, HealthSource Rhode Island is the apple of the federal government's eye, and when it was put to the government here in Rhode Island, and HealthSource Rhode Island, the health exchange, the Obama Health Exchange, that $4.6 million would be needed to match some funding from the feds this next fiscal year. Here's the headline on this one, or a series of them, following the trail of the story. Anyway, seems like the feds love us so much, they're going to say, don't worry about the $4.6 million. Christine Ferguson was on the show recently and talked about how great this program is.
Rhode Island is the #1 performing exchange in the country. We've done the whole thing soup to nuts. Very strong emphasis on small business that you'll see us pivot to even more now. And we're really using it as an opportunity to get at competition, getting more people into the marketplace and letting people choose.
You believe in this?
I fundamentally believe that people have a right to be able to choose the kind of health care that they have and pay for. I want to be clear, I'm not defending Obamacare and the ACA. We are doing the best we can with what we have to work with. There are a lot of pieces of the bill that are flawed.
Here's the thing, though, that the feds love Rhode Island's healthcare exchange so much. We're gonna get a free ride this year, which means it'll be in play. And heck, you know what? We may get a free ride for a long time, and we may be the only state left standing with its solely owned and run exchange. And finally, whoo boy, that's all I gotta say. What a wild game last night in Montreal. All right, why Rhode Island doesn't, when we come back, stay with us. So take a look at this headline. This is kind of a front and center pager for the Providence Phoenix. Well, we kind of ripped that off, but here's we can actually show it here. I could show it there too. Now that Phil has brought the thing. Anyway, it says, oh, you know it's green. Oh, the magic. That's why they didn't do it. Hey, dummy with the red shirt, just shut up and do your show, says the technical staff. We're going.
I didn't do that to you on purpose.
Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
You can't take me anywhere, Rox. Why Rhode Island doesn't?
That's right.
We've had some bad polling data that says we don't like ourselves very much.
Yeah.
And so you put a piece together. Talk to me.
This was a few weeks ago when Gallup came out with news that the Rhode Islanders polled. I think they did the poll over in the fall before the speaker's raid happened, which is relevant. Even before then, Rhode Islanders were the least likely of any state to say that they lived in the best or one of the best states. And that we're also near the top, I think tied with Connecticut after Illinois, in saying that we lived in the worst state.
Right.
And another metric from this Gallup poll was that I think 42% of Rhode Islanders said if they could, they would leave. So at the time, I must...
It just got worse and worse and worse and
right,
worse.
Right. At the time, flush with state pride, I said, we're going to do something about this. I sent out an email to all of our contributors, the news contributors, and just said, give me a paragraph on why Rhode Island doesn't suck. And amazingly, they were incredibly varied. I wrote one about the wonderful architecture we have here. I'm not a big outdoor guy. I sunburn pretty quickly. But other people wrote about the beaches. People wrote about food. People wrote about the art scene. People wrote about Roger Williams and the legacy of separation of church and state here. And it turned into this really, what I thought, great collection that was retweeted and shared like crazy, and a real kind of, upbeat moment. I will say, since then, some of the stories in the news have got me a little back down on Rhode Island.
No, but you make a great point. I mean, I talked to the radio audience about those Gallup polls when they came out, and I said, come on, you can't really feel this badly, or you wouldn't stick around. And I asked the radio audience, tell me why you stick around. And the legitimate ones are, I got to take care of my family, and you know, occupational. But then it's tied to the pension, and then it's all that kind of thing.
Right.
And so, the self-deprecation is at an all-time high.
But honestly,
But then you go to the water. Thank God we got the water. And I think the water probably is one of the things that minimizes people's, I mean, the activism that could change the things that they say they don't like about the place, right? I mean, that's the weird kind of
you mean you go to the beach?
catch-22 psychology.
You go to the beach and you feel better?
Yes.
Except I don't do that. But
Well, Phil, maybe you get some tanning lotion or something.
It
or,
never
How
works.
about sunblock at 75 or something like that? You really should go to the
well,
beach once in a while.
I go. You know, sunset.
Costs a lot to park.
Off months.
They screwed that one up too, but
Right.
that's all right.
Right. I mean, I think the key for me is I will argue with you, you know, till I'm out of breath about why this place is great. But at the same time, I got a long list of things I'm really bummed out about. And I think, you know, both of those, and I grew up here, so, you know, both of those things inform what I'm doing in the paper every week.
All right, good. I want to hear what he's bummed out about. I gave you enough of that in the rundown tonight. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Okay, by the way, you can't have the paper when it's green over like this because it's funny. Jess is fit to be tied with me. Philip Bile is here. He runs the Advocate. The Advocate. I knew I'd do that. The Advocate is a paper in Western Mass. It was just like the Phoenix. I like the Phoenix, and I read the Phoenix. And you've got this great story. Can't show you the green. Why Rhode Island doesn't suck. But you say there are things that are bothering you about the state. I can't imagine that, Philip. My goodness.
Well,
why in heaven's name would you say such a thing?
You know, it might just be me, but
What's on your mind on it?
I'm 29 years old. I grew up in this state, and I think a lot about what people my age are thinking about what's going on. And I'm ticked off about the state that I and people my age stand to inherit right now. Mainly, obviously, for 38 Studios. But the ripple effects of that are in so many different places. Of course, there's the story this week how we rehired the people whom we're suing for fraud.
Right.
I mean, not to pick on her, but you had Superintendent Lucy in your opening segment. I'm still trying to get over some of the stuff she said during that brouhaha a couple weeks ago where her employee had the fake bogus credentials.
Right.
And
She didn't tell me she went to Harvard.
there was that,
Yeah.
and there was the comparison to Bill Gates, which didn't seem to add up. You know, we could get into political stuff. I think it would be great if we could legalize marijuana in the state and get that ball rolling, and we don't see a lot of speed on that. We can
Another show.
another show.
You're on a roll.
But the sum total of it all is I love this place dearly, as is expressed by, you know, as I express and others do in that article. But man, some of the folks making the decisions leaves a lot to be desired, I guess you could say. And with the 38 Studios, I mean, how disillusioning could it be? I have an article in this week's Phoenix about the commencement speech that I wanted to see from this season that just ended, you know, the 9 or 10 or 11 ceremonies we had it would probably never happen, but I would love to see somebody involved in 38 Studios get up, give a detailed, comprehensive explanation of what happened, and then do some mea culpa stuff about here's what I did, here's what I learned. The real world that you graduates are about to step into is, in this state, a pretty rough place, and let's at least start from a place of transparency and accountability.
Can you believe our Attorney General is now expressing confidence that everybody knows that he feels deceived?
Yeah.
That takes unmitigated gall, don't you think?
I was listening to you today and enjoying that as I was rolling around. You brought out some excellent audio, which I'd like to hear more of the floor debates that took place. What was that, in
He's saying
2010?
there was no debate on the thing. We've got all the evidence of all the debating that was going on.
Maybe he wasn't there that day.
Running for Attorney General,
Right.
but maybe. Give me 30 seconds. You're going to come back on another show
Yeah.
soon. You're working on a book.
Yes. Long story short, my dad, who is a local physician, went to college and medical school with a guy who is currently serving 4 consecutive life terms in federal prison for prescription drug dealing. The prison is in Indiana. He was prosecuted in Southern Ohio and Cincinnati, and he was living in Chicago in a very nice apartment on Lakeshore Drive, commuting back and forth between Chicago and Southern Ohio, working at what prosecutors called a pill mill.
So you're halfway through the book because
the evidence from his trial, which amounts to 15,000 pages of material, is currently being held by the Drug Enforcement Administration's FOIA office, Freedom of Information Act. I submitted a request 2 years ago, and they're only about 1/5 of the way through.
I'm fascinated by that story. We'll have Philip back to have a longer conversation about that because it has a lot to do with the overdose environment that we have right now. Good to see you, man. Come back again.
Thanks for having me.
Your state of mind when we come back. Don't go anywhere. All righty. Your state of mind is important to me. Always feel like you can feedback what you hear me say on the rundown or somebody else say on the rundown or guest segment or whatever. Here's the phone number, 228-1886. Leave us a voicemail. Email me at stateofmind@myritv.com. Facebook post, tweet. Here's a Facebook post. Joshua posts on Facebook regarding 38 subpoenas. That would be 38 studios. Smoke and mirrors. Look, I'm doing what you guys want. Oh, never mind. I'm talking about, I think, Speaker Mattiello's fake left go right by bringing Representative Macbeth on as an oversight chairman and then pulling the rug out from underneath her by saying, oh, never mind, we're not going to do subpoenas. Just another day in the life of Rhode Island, which Phil is right. Doesn't. Well, it doesn't. We'll see you tomorrow on the radio at noon on WPRO and back here at 7:30 at MyROD TV. Good night.